us now to talk more on this is Behnam Ben Taleblu. He is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Good to see you. So it's been a real battle, right, in the House to get the aid packages through, to fine-tune, to amend, and apparently there might be some more amendments taking place now before there is final passage of any $26 billion for Israel. So in your view, if passed, how will that funding be dispensed, and how important will it be?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. I think if indeed passed, as you mentioned, it would send a strong deterrent message to the government of the Islamic Republic, which just last weekend made history with its willingness not to engage in proxy warfare, but in an overt, direct, territory-to-territory attack, employing ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. And some of the smaller acts and measures that were put into H.R. 8038, the one that just passed, at least from the House side, does contain, human rights sanctions reporting requirements. Importantly, a strategy to counter Iran's illicit oil exports to China, because for over a decade, whether licit or illicit, China has been the biggest source of revenue for Iranian oil. And as we saw, those are revenues going towards the military program, the drone program, the missile program, and even, yes, indeed, the nuclear program. And then critically, more aid, of course, to Israel now in terms of both supporting the existing missile and air defense architecture. Israel has some of the most layered air and missile defense in the region. Strengthening this can deter a prospective or future Iranian attack, as well as by its proxies.
Well, let me ask you your thoughts about, these tensions between Israel and Iran on full display this week, yet at the same time, there's been a real reluctance for specificity from Israel, as well as an acknowledgement from Iran. Why do you suppose that is?
Let me go one step further, actually. There's a third party that's been relatively quiet as well, which is Washington. So from Jerusalem, Tehran, and Washington, you've had relative silence in the aftermath of what was a Friday morning strike, at least Tehran time, targeting a radar installation that is believed to be providing coverage for one of Iran's sensitive nuclear sites. Initially, it was thought that it was a drone attack, but now it seems that it was a daring air raid where aircraft stopped just outside Iranian territory and fired air-to-ground missiles at this target. It was indeed a game-changing kind of operation. All three sides, I think, want to turn the page. They've all tried to press each other on the way the 6-month war in the region has been going on. But in particular, the Iranians may want to take this as a de-escalatory step because they know that they cannot win an escalation spiral again, or at least conventionally or directly, as the Israelis just proved, against Israel. But it doesn't mean at all that there is peace breaking out in the region. It just means that the most overt, dangerous kind of conflict was just sidestepped.
Are you concerned about a regional conflict, or if this could be representative of a beginning stages of such?
I think, unfortunately, there is a newfound risk tolerance within the ultra-hardline political and military elite in the government of the Islamic Republic. And that ultra-hardline ascendancy does things like massive domestic suppression at home and massive foreign aggression abroad. You saw that with the way the 2022-2023 Mahsa Amini protests were repressed across Iran, across 150 different cities, towns, and even villages. And you saw that with the backing they gave prior to October 7 to the terrorist group Hamas, as well as in this daring missile barrage that Israel was able to draw a stark contrast to and do a precision strike to deter against. So just because tit for tat territorially seems to be capped off doesn't mean, again, that peace is breaking out in the region because of that lingering kind of risk-tolerant approach by Tehran's leaders. And hopefully some of those House measures can begin to gut at that risk-tolerant approach.
And today, as the House of Representatives is poised to vote on this $26 billion for Israel, within that package, there would be a $9 billion allocation to humanitarian aid for Gaza and elsewhere. Do you believe that's going to be enough, or do you have concerns about how that will be put to use?
There are, massive questions about oversight for any kind of humanitarian aid going to Gaza, given some of the stories that have been breaking out about UNRWA, but just in general, the ability to give, or provide legitimate oversight to who this will go to, where, and if there is a Hamas role in this. But more broadly about humanitarian aid and about the changing U.S. presence in the region, we have to make sure that the Islamic Republic of Iran's narrative does not have ascendancy. And when it does have ascendancy is when there are downtrodden and dispossessed and marginalized populations across a series of failed states in the Middle East. Just look at the places where Iran has proxies today: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen. These places are not success stories like the Arab states of the Persian Gulf or even Israel. They are failed states. So in general, the U.S. does need almost like a Marshall Plan approach to all the populations in all these jurisdictions, and this humanitarian dividend could have a security one in the medium to long term.
Behnam Ben Taleblu, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, still